UCLA. You have to kind of remind your team to stay patient and stay in the moment.
They're a great team. Been one of the most consistent teams in the country this year. You know, uniquely with the schedule that we play, we've actually seen some teams like them along the way. And, you know, coming from that side of the country, I think I've played them maybe 15 or 16 times. You know, it's good. It's a really good team, good brand of baseball, winning baseball, really good sophomore class, you know, some of the best players in the country, you know, and should be an awesome night, just like last night was.
What would you say is the hallmark of a John Savage team?
Pitching. You know, you think about all the great big leaguers that they've had. You know, Garrett Cole obviously is the headliner. And there was guys after that, you know, James Caprillion, Adam Plutko, a guy named Grant Watson. I think around that time they won the national championship. And then just consistent, and they're going to play the game the right way. You know, really good identity on offense. You know, have a style of play that they're very committed to, and that they're really good at.
Did you have any? You guys working on infield defense. I guess is that something you're expecting?
Yeah, I mean, you guys are around and have a lot of access during the postseason. So, you know, Little Rock, you know, very active team with those types of things, and you saw that. West Virginia certainly capable of doing it. So it's just kind of what we do, you know, if you will, the football practice period of red zone defense, if you will. You know, just to make sure we're buttoned up and prepared, and it's game 65. You know, get good athletes on the mound and, you know, do a good job handling that part of the game.
Did you have any memorable tussles with Savage?
Oh yeah, I mean, I respect him a lot. You know, goes back a long ways. You know, when you're a young assistant coach and coming from a small school into Division I, and nobody even knows who you are, and the head coach at UCLA, you know, treats you like you're somebody. That's something I've always been thankful for. Always admired him. And then, yeah, we had some good ones. I want to say my first year at Arizona, we were down 5 in the 9th and scored 6, or down 4 and scored 5. One on a walk-off. Bobby Dahlbeck hit one into the corner, major leaguer. Scored Alfonso Rivas from third base, major leaguer. So, and then I thought that was a pivotal game in that team season that ended up getting here and playing for the national championship. That's probably one that I remember the most. You know, on the good side, I think we swept them in Tucson in 18, and they gave it right back to us and swept us in Westwood in 2019. And I think they were the #1 national seed that year. So a lot of mutual respect, hopefully, at least on my end, there is.
Obviously, it means a lot to Jared. You know, you guys staying and doing extra work. And that's not new, I'm sure. But just kind of take me through, like, where you're at with him and what you're telling him.
Yeah, we just he's had a great season, 20 homers, bunch of RBIs. You know, just it's no different. We have a game tomorrow that we're trying to prepare for, so it's like, you know, we did something similar to what we would do if we were playing at the box, and we got time in a beautiful facility, so it's just like making it like home and staying, what I would say, in a routine. I don't know if it's a routine, but staying in how we roll, so to speak.
You only issued 2 walks last night and didn't make an error, played great defense. How pleased were you with the way you kind of handled the stage?
Very well, and I saw it, sensed it throughout the week. You know, I want them to enjoy being here. You know, the opening ceremony is the host cook-off deal that we had, steaks and hot dogs. I was worried we were gonna have a food coma after that meal because it was so good. You know, and being around their families in the hotel. I mean, parents are obviously really proud of them, and then flip the switch to preparation and execution, and just the whatever they call it, like the vibe of the team was really good yesterday, really good today, and just have a good sense of knowing who they need to be when they need to be it. And again, it's as simple as it sounds. Can't write an article about it, but it's just about execution, and execution is a direct reflection of your preparation, and felt good about both those things yesterday.
How close was Anthony into coming to the game last night?
Not really close. You know, felt good about Kaysen, felt good about the matchups. Just didn't want to get caught behind the 8 ball if we needed him.
How about that guy's ability to battle? I mean, we've talked about it all year long. He always finds himself in a situation and then always finds a way out of it.
Yeah.
I know you joked about the second inning thing, but like, what is it that you see that ability to grind through it.
Yeah, I think he may have even said this to you because you said it to me before. You know, he looks at those things as instead of, oh, I'm in trouble or there's a situation, it's like, now I get to find out how good I am. And it's like all things in life, it's not the thing, it's how you view the thing. And just a guy with a lot of confidence and the right type of mental disposition to be able to do that and then just go execute pitches. And he's special at it. It's a great quality because it's easy for me to sit here and say it. It's another thing to go out and do it like that.
With
Jay,
what
you talked
Cade,
about. I'm sorry, go ahead.
with what Cade gave you in Game 1, just from your starter, what kind of can that performance do for your pitching staff moving forward?
Well, you win the game, first off. I mean, that's the most important thing that he provided. I thought he pitched excellent last night, you know, and put us in position to where you're not crossing really anybody off of the list, and the other guys came in and threw strikes, and that's why you put them in the game in that environment, and they have tremendous stuff and recover well. And, you know, so he gave us a situation where in tomorrow's game, basically everybody's available but him.
Right.
How close?
I know. Shoot.
I'm allergic to bees, and so I don't.
Oh, Lord.
Yeah.
We'll stop though.
Yeah.
Alert, alert.
EpiPen.
For real.
Yeah.
You talked about the depth of pitching last night. It seems like you're in good shape with everybody except for Anderson going tomorrow. And then, but do you eventually need someone to kind of step up and, you know, pitch, you know, on a higher level than you've had before?
Well, that's the kind of, I guess what I'd say, lore of this tournament, you know, not just with LSU, but every championship team, but certainly with LSU. And just, you know, 24 months ago, Nate Ackenhausen, who I just viewed as super important to that team, we had him go 6 innings at one time, and then it set us up. And then, you know, Griffin Herring going 4 1/3, when he'd pitched a lot and a huge part of that team, just hadn't gone 4 1/3. Potentially, you know, but really we feel like with 13 guys that we feel good about putting in the game, like, you know, there's probably an opportunity to just keep them in their role and get them to execute what they do well and do it as a group. But I think a lot of guys are very capable of doing that, and which I'm sure the rest of the coaches here feel the same way. But I definitely feel good about our pitching staff and somebody being able to do that if needed, and, you know, wouldn't surprise us if it's needed at some point.
When the bases are loaded, do you guys have a certain plan for that specific situation, or is it the same plan as if there's just runners in scoring position?
You're talking about on offense?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's some things that we'll look for and try to make sure that we hone in on and are good with. You know, the pitcher obviously has less margin for error at that circumstance. They're trying to induce something, you know what I mean, that we want to stay away from, and, you know, so there's a part of it. You know, we work on it a lot in practice, again, that you guys have all been privy to here in the postseason, and I think the guys done a good job. I thought Chris did a good job with it last night. You know, we got the free base there with Michael, and, you know, then you're in a 1st and 3rd, which is essentially the same thing as a bases loaded type situation, and, you know, Josh on a tough matchup was able to move the ball there. So I thought we did a good job. Definitely think we did a great job in the super regional with it, and regional as well.
What's it mean to get Chase out there and for him to have the success that he had?
I'm not surprised. He's very talented. I think has used his experience of the season well. I think one of the benefits of starting him, knowing how good that he was and could be, was we got some miles on his tires that he didn't get last year, missing the season with an injury. And then usually what happens with pitchers, when you do that and then you condense it down, you get some really good results. And that's what we've had. And then, you know, I had the one outing that wasn't great, and I think it was the regional, and then used that experience well and was awesome last week in the super. And then I thought he used that well as a good blueprint for last night, and was excellent.
On the personal side, for him to kind of overcome everything he has.
I love him. Like, I mean, that's one of the first big dogs that, you know, took a leap of faith with us as a program, and was committed somewhere else and flipped it around to us. And, you know, I knew what that meant at the time, and maybe it just took a little longer to get here, to no fault of his own, just because of the injury. And so I'm super proud of him, and you know, look forward to the rest of his time.
Anthony is from close to UCLA's campus. If you name him the starter for tomorrow night's game, what do you just expect?
Well, close is relative in the greater Los Angeles area. I've been in Long Beach and it's taken 2 hours to get to Westwood. So, no, I just expect him when he pitches next to be himself and execute pitches and pitch with great tempo and attack hitters and be difficult to deal with because he's got 4 pitches, field his position. Just be Anthony.
He mentioned watching UCLA growing up, I guess being so close, and even like some of his youth coaches are UCLA fans. Is that something, like when a guy is facing a team that maybe he's familiar with or been a fan of, do you have to manage emotions at all, or is that even something?
I mean, it could be just knowing the player. I'm not overly worried about that. The makeup, character, competitor, disposition, even if it's off a little bit, not perfect, you're talking about a guy that knows how to reel it in really fast and get rolling. And much like Cade, he gave us everything he had last Sunday night. And we'd used him on Monday to finish out the regional, and I'm happy he's gotten the rest that he has for from that game till today, and looks good, moving around, bouncing around, and has his body underneath him, and he's a well-conditioned athlete. So put that together with the mental game, and you feel good about it.
Coach, about the time of the Auburn series, you said that something to the effect of, for the first portion of the season, 30-some-odd games, the team had played the same kind of consistent brand of high-level ball, and then they got away from it for a weekend. Do you feel like they've been back to that over the past couple weeks, and what does that look like?
Yeah, good question. I think I admired the consistency really in all phases. We've been a great defensive team throughout the season. Offensively, it was just a relentless amount of quality at bats that was getting us into double digits sometimes without even noticing it, if that makes sense. And I think that's a sign of a really good team. And then the pitching's been strong. And I would say I learned a lot even post that run, if you will, of the team's ability to win games when maybe 2 of the 3 were good and 1 wasn't as good. And I think that's the sign of good teams. I think I'd say this to them: great teams play near their capability often. I thought they've done that. And then I stole one from Pat Riley, the old basketball coach. Great teams, find a way to win when they don't play their best. And I feel like this team's done good with both those things.
Coach, after an emotional win like last night, how important is it to keep the team business as usual with more work to do this week?
Yeah, I think they're aware of that. I mean, we're built on preparation. We're built on doing it by design, not by default. Built on not being hostage to your feelings. It just doesn't work in baseball. You can't do it. And so I think they're well conditioned for that. Want them to relax a little bit today. That's the one benefit of not having to play on back-to-back days. And we'll reset, have a meeting this evening at the hotel. Coaches do our thing all day today, and then routine for a night game tomorrow with early hitting and game prep and meetings and ready to roll.
Yesterday you moved Curriell down in the lineup again. Of course, you had him right there to have the key hit of the game. What was the thinking that went into that?
Yeah, I think you try to do in postseason baseball, and you have the flexibility when you have good players throughout the order, is can we put pressure on the opponent that we can score in every inning, if you will. And so that has been a primary reason for shuffling the deck. And the great thing about Derek is he's so competitive and so focused on doing his job, which is to get on base and then move the ball with runners on base. And he did both. He set the table. Again, I said it in the press conference last night, the walk in the second inning where he was down 0-2 to be able to draw that, put them in some pressure. And then, Danny gets down the bunt and then made a nice at bat, pitch to pitch off of Gibbler, and stayed on that thing and did exactly what we needed to do. And so it was great to have him up at that time. And then more than anything, him just execute. I love seeing him come up all the time. And it's actually the 2 games we've done this, it's been a little bit of shot in the arm in the second inning, like you see him rolling up there. And, proud of the at-bats that he took last night.
Do you think he's just seeing lefties better since the start of the postseason? Is that part of this?
Maybe. I mean, I think he just is getting better. It's like I said, I mean, he played about as high level of baseball as you can in terms of being in the Trinity League in California, playing for the top travel teams and All-American games, but it's not this. And so I just think he's got such a feel for baseball. Kind of the more you see, the more you do, the better you get. It's the way that it's kind of designed, and he has the ability to take advantage of that. So I think it's time, and his development has probably been as accelerated as any freshman player in the country, and I think we'll keep seeing it. I really do.
Did you pinch hit last night?
We pinch hit Jake Brown last night, and he's obviously a huge part of our team, and wanted to like this spot for him last night, and obviously he'll play more here, and I thought it was good to get him in there.
Thanks, Jay.
All right, thank you guys.